minorities, education slip to far down the ladder, that drives us closer to being a third world nation.
Absolutely. No question about it.
What do my viewers most need to know about the education system in America? What don't we know that we need to know?
I think that one of the things that was a real eye-opening to me was that the system is designed to keep people employed, not to educate people, and it's designed to throw good money after bad. So if you are not good at doing a good job educating folks, you get more money thrown to you. And so therefore you perpetuate the uneducation of the American people.
What you said is that the way the system is set up now, a school district and the administrator of each individual school are incentivized to not provide high quality education to the children. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
How can we shift that?
I'm not sure what the answer to that is. My answer was to open a charter school. I wrote a grant, a federal grant, in December to provide through after school program our model to help other schools and other failing school districts to raise their test scores. And the biggest problem that we had is that our kids here in the inner city were achieving too high, and so therefore we couldn't show that we're currently serving a failing population.
Because you have successfully impacted the lives of the 3,000 students
Yes.
that you have, that adversely impacted your ability to get federal funds to further the process.
Yes.
Are you of service to the community in any way other than running this organization?
One of the things that we do is we collaborate or we partner with organizations like Feed 333, Feed the Children, Free the Children, the Salvation Army, and we deploy armies of people who do the toy donations and the serving of the food.
And most of these people are your employees or parents of your students?
Parents and students.
Parents and
There's
students.
a service requirement component in our...
Please tell us about the service requirement that you put on your students.
Okay, so we believe that it makes no difference if you transform only your immediate neighborhood, because at the end of the day, you need to transform an entire system and an entire society. So we're not only responsible for our local communities, we're responsible for communities across the globe. And so families are responsible for instance, helping villages in Asia or in Africa. We're also responsible for helping homeless kids have toys for Christmas. We're responsible for helping entire families eat for weeks at a time during the holidays or during the rest of the day. We're responsible for going to homeless shelters and working with them, or going to working with our elderly on a daily basis.
Is there a minimum number of hours you require from each child?
No, it's not based on hours. It's based on projects. They're supposed to begin and complete projects within a specified period of time, and that could be from taking an elderly person who lives in a home to the movies, or knitting blankets for homeless shelters, or buying cows for a village in Africa who lost all their cows because of drought. So it takes you 2 hours to do, or it takes you 100 hours to do.
Right, because they might have to go out and raise the money to buy a dozen cows or whatever like that.
That is correct.
Was there a moment when you had an epiphany? It doesn't necessarily need to be like Saul on the road to Damascus, but a moment when you had an epiphany, when you knew that service was going to be a major aspect of your life. And if so, when did that happen and what was it like?
My family was very purposeful. my dad and my mom were very purposeful in raising me from a little child to tell me that I was going to take care of the family as I grew up. As I was young, I understood that to be, I'm going to go out there, get educated, and make a lot of money. As I got older, I understood that it means I'm going to transform communities because my family is affected by war in Syria, is affected by somebody being deported in South Carolina. Anything that happens in the world affects my family.
So you would say it was just kind of there from the beginning.
Yes.
There wasn't a specific moment where it became just, you knew, I'm going to be a servant leader.
Yes. The difference was when the definition of a servant leader. As a very young child and through my young adulthood, I was groomed to serve my family and the well-being of my family. So my interpretation of family was very limited.
It was the people that share your DNA.
The people that share my DNA, I was groomed to make sure that they will never go hungry.
Do you send money to them now?
Yes, I send a lot of money to them now. I've paid for the education of all of my nephews, most of my nephews and nieces, and I take care of my parents. They need nothing. So that was an easy thing to fulfill. The question then became, how do I continue to lead and serve to make sure that my family is always going to be okay? Education is the only way to stop abuse and all the isms, all the wars, most diseases. And that's what I'm called to do.
Why would someone like that want to serve someone or something outside of their own narrowly defined self-interest?
I think it's because it's a self-preservation. Believe it or not, the more you better the world, the better your chances of survival are. The better your chances of somebody not pushing that nuclear button, or somebody not running up to you with a gun and taking the little bit of money you work hard to put the food that you were planning to put on your table, or your expensive car that you work so hard to buy. If it's not for a philosophical reason, then do it for self-preservation. Educated societies are civilized societies.
Do you have a suggestion as to a non-threatening, easy to get involved service project that anyone can do anywhere?
Wow, there's so many fun
So
things
pick a
to
few.
do.
So pick a few.
Oh man, depends on your interests. Usually the easiest thing is to volunteer what you already do.
So if you were an engineer, you could volunteer to teach math to kids.
Yes. Or solve an equation, or, figure out how to dig a ditch for somebody in Haiti, for instance, to get water from the river that's 10 yards away to come down to this arid land just 10 feet away, and it will stop that family or community starving. There's so many things you can do that you already have the tools to do.
And if the viewer were to do that, either that project or some other project that they can imagine, what could they expect to get out of it?
The satisfaction of knowing that they did a little bit more to save the world.
And what's that going to feel like?
It feels good. It feels better than going to dinner at a very expensive restaurant, and it lasts longer.
How long does it last?
I think it lasts forever. I mean, I wake up with a smile on my face every day.
If I were able to issue you an ironclad 100% guarantee of success, no failure for your next project, what would you attempt?
I would love to have a one-stop place for creating a shelter for women, abused women, a vocational school, elementary school for their children, and a bank that will loan them money to open a business when they went through our vocational program, all in one place.
Let's.
Ask me why that project.
Why that particular project?
Because women's shelter you for a few months, or a few days, a few weeks, and then you have to go back, and long enough for you to heal, then you have to go back to the same place where you got hurt because you have no resources to break your cycle.
Let's pretend for a moment that all 7 billion of us are going to watch this video. What would you say to us?
I would say, I think that for all of us, I think the most important thing is we do sometimes we lash out and we destroy and we hate what we're afraid of, or or things that we don't know how to control. And I think that what makes us most enlightened and keeps this planet safer is to come back to the same thing as I have the power to start or stop whatever good or bad I want to do, or whatever good or bad my neighbor is doing.
If I could give you any superpower, either one you've heard of in the comics, bending steel, X-ray vision, whatever, or one that you make up right here on the spot, which one would you ask from me?
More patience.
Who are your heroes?
My grandma.
Why?
My grandma was a woman who had no education at all. She was an immigrant from the islands, from Jamaica, who came to Panama as a child, raised multiple kids, and instilled in all of them the need to break that cycle. And I am the product of her journey that began in 1907.
Do you teach logic and decision making in your school?
Yes, through project-based learning. So having test scores is one thing, but how are you going to apply it is another thing. And so that's the reason for the servant leadership, their service hours, the studying of the Millennium Development Goal, which is a big service project, and we started in kindergarten. And so we talk about eliminating malaria and eliminating hunger and child mortality and getting universal education. And many people might say, well, kindergarten is too young to start that, but well, when do you start it? When do you start talking about you are responsible for making the choices that you're making, and you need to start making those choices today when you're 5 years old?
What have I neglected to ask you that bears mentioning at this juncture?
There's several things, because we change. We're not static human beings. So we talk a little bit about why I believe in doing something, and why did I start, what transformed me, what time did I become a transformational leader. And then there's the other piece, which a lot of us believe in, which is I have a 16-year-old son, and on a daily basis I worry, am I doing enough to make sure that some crazy person doesn't press that bomb? Is he going to have a life? Is he going to have children? And are his children going to have children? Am I doing enough to guarantee that that's going to happen? And that's the question that I wake up to every day. I mean, that's what haunts me. Am I doing enough?
Thank you so much for the interview. We've been very kind and gracious.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.